You probably clicked on this because you're a high schooler who procrastinates a lot. And you might be procrastinating right now by watching this video. Don't worry, as someone who's improved a ton on my personal procrastination habits, here's everything you need to know to finally get the upper hand on procrastination. Before learning how to beat procrastination, we need to understand what it is. Procrastination is intentionally putting off something that you should and want to do. According to the ancient Greeks, it is making a decision against our better judgment. Procrastination usually comes from a negative emotion or resistance within yourself. And the common culprits are an anxiety of being overwhelmed and just not knowing what to do and where to start. It could be from boredom of a task being too easy and mindless. It could be from a fear of failure and a desire for perfection on a project that will never be perfect. Or it could simply be from having not enough energy to make yourself get up and do the work. Remember that everybody struggles with procrastination. 90% of students identify as procrastinators, and even experts on procrastination still sometimes procrastinate. Everyone's on a spectrum of improvement when it comes to beating procrastination, so don't feel down and feel like you've lost procrastination just because you procrastinate a few times. And because procrastination stems from a negative emotion within yourself, it's very helpful to first sit with that emotion and really understand it for what it is. Because first off, once you understand the emotion, it has much less power over you. And second off, once you know what thing is holding you back from doing the work, you can break down your work plan into a step that is much more easier to approach with that emotion. The first step to beating procrastination is to break your task into stupidly simple and easy steps. You should identify the steps that are so basic that makes you feel stupid not doing them. For example, you could write your name down on your homework worksheet. You could write one sentence on your essay, or just boot up your Google Slides and just see what you have done so far. You don't have to think about the grand overarching task that you need to get done, right? That huge project, that big essay you need to write, all the homework you need to get done in that one night. All you have to say is use the 3-2-1 rule. Say 3, 2, 1. And then get to work, setting up your workspace and starting with that simple task that you can get done in a few minutes and then move on to the next. People wait for motivation to start working, but motivation follows action. So if you're able to start with that small task and make a little bit of progress, motivation will start coming and you'll build up momentum to get your work done. So our first tip was as simple as just starting your work. And in any situation that you're put into, you'll default to wanting to do the habit that you've built upon the most. So even those times when you choose to work and you end up not getting things done, which is pretty occasional, you'll still be helping yourself long-term against procrastination by building against that habit of procrastinating. So the next time that you're feeling negative and stressed and don't want to work, you'll be a little more inclined to get work done. A strategy you can use to get the habit of working more in your favor is called implementation intention, and it's from Tim Fitchell's book. And it basically says that if this scenario happens, then I'll do this. So I could say, if I have a free period between classes, I'll pull out my computer and write a few sentences of my essay. Or if I just finished brushing my teeth, then I'll take out my book and read a few chapters. And you can further implementation intention by utilizing a calendar, which basically means that during this specific block of time, I'll do this work. So if you put something on your calendar and you block out the periods of time that you want to work, you're much more likely to not procrastinate and choose to do that work then, because you've already set the intention that you're going to do that work. And you can do this easily by just pulling up a Google Calendar at the beginning of the day for like 2 minutes and just putting down that work, or basically blocking out those periods of time that you want to be doing work. And as you get better and better at beating procrastination and getting more productive, you can start following a mindset of utilizing all those spare minutes in the day that are usually wasted away, like between classes and while waiting for a dentist appointment or before school starts, and start utilizing those times to get work done. And these little minutes where you can write a few sentences or read a few pages or get a little bit of an outline written or brainstorm a little bit don't seem like they do much, but throughout the day they can really add up. And more importantly, they start chipping away at those larger tasks so that when you have a big chunk of work that you can use to be very focused and get a ton of deep work done, it's a lot more easy for you to start because that task has already been chipped away at and you know the step that you need to work on next. It's important not to identify with procrastination by saying you're a procrastinator. You're someone who sometimes procrastinates. You should make an identity for yourself that makes it easier for you to get work done. And most importantly, support and back up your identity with actual concrete evidence. And as you are able to identify more and more with the identity you want to have as a non-procrastinator, the more and more actions you will do that are in line with that identity. And you'll find that as you fit more and more into a hardworking student identity, you'll start becoming more and more of a hardworking student. Now we are going to move on to some of the deeper tips that will help you as you get better and better at dealing with procrastination and are really trying to get the most out of the time you have each day. A lot of the things that distract you from being productive and actually getting the work you want to get done are those things that don't really feel like wasted time or being lazy. It's those things that feel somewhat productive but don't give you the big results that you want. For example, randomly searching things up on Google or even watching informational YouTube videos. So you should start following the 80-20 rule, which says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. So you really should try and start cutting out those 80% of actions that produce only 20% of your results. It's things like rereading your notes over and over to study instead of using things like active recall and actually doing practice tests. It's things like going onto your presentation and switching the font and the transitions and the themes before the actual presentation is complete. So my next tip might be a little bit contradictory to what I said earlier with the starting tips, but it is called eating the frog. Eating the frog is basically starting your day off or your session of work off with the hardest, most important thing that you really don't want to do, basically eating the frog, before you go on to enjoy the rest of your day. Because if you start your day off with the hardest thing, then the rest of the day is going to feel a lot easier and more accessible by comparison. So this tip especially applies to those weekends where you want to get work done or those days where you have a free period in the morning where you can start your day off strong. Because when you're in the morning and you have time to do work done, you have your mind at its peak freshness, right? Your mind and body are at its peak freshness, which means you can get much more effective work done a lot easier. So once you're able to get that hard work done, the rest of your day is going to feel a lot more productive. And if you can start off your work sessions, which I know is kind of against what I said by starting off your work, by making your work as easy and simple as possible. However, if you are able to start with that hard task, it's going to make the rest of your work session feel way easier because you finished the hard thing and now you just have a bunch of easier tasks that you know you can already accomplish. So my first few tips, or all the tips before this, have been saying no to the things that you don't actually want to do or aren't productive enough to push you towards the goals that you want to accomplish. But really, you don't have that many hours in a day or days in a week or weeks in a year to the point that you can accomplish everything you want to achieve. So the final tip is to realize that out of your the 25 things that you really want to do, like get amazing grades, have really good extracurriculars, be a top tier student, have an amazing relationship with your family and friends, become a star athlete, become an amazing musician, an amazing artist, learn to skateboard, build a business, become an amazing athlete with an amazing physique, or have a six-pack, you're not going to be able to accomplish your huge list of things that you want to accomplish. And the things that are at the bottom of your list after your 9 through 25 things that you want to do are going to be, once you learn how to say no to the things that you don't actually want to spend your time doing, going to be the actual biggest distractions from the 1 through 8 most important tasks or most important goals that you want to accomplish and strive for. And I'm going to end off this video by saying that me and you probably and basically everyone else acts as if they have infinite time, but everyone is mortal and you don't have that much time in reality to do all that stuff. You don't have that many weeks in your life. And there's a diagram right here of all of the weeks you're going to have in your entire life of 90 years if you live to that. And it's really shocking because it's not that many. So my final question to you is, how do you want to use these scarce, valuable weeks of your life, and what do you actually want to accomplish with them?